What if I told you that the only thing standing between the man you are now and the man you're meant to become is 90 days of no excuses, not a lifetime, not a decade, just 90 days. 90 days of discipline, 90 days of silence, 90 days of choosing purpose over feelings again and again. Because the truth is, transformation isn't a mystery. It's math, small decisions, compounded with consistency. Shape, identity. Napoleon Hill called it the definiteness of purpose, the unwavering commitment to a clear goal, backed by faith and executed without excuse. But here's the part most men miss. You don't become powerful by hoping. You become powerful by deciding. So let's make a decision today. Not a wish, not a maybe, but a line in the sand. From this moment forward, you're not watching motivation. You're studying a blueprint, a plan built for action, a path designed for the man who's done talking and ready to build. This is the season of becoming, and 90 days from now, the version of you that hesitated, avoided, and negotiated, he'll be unrecognizable, because what we're about to begin is not a challenge. It's a rebirth. There comes a moment in every man's life when he gets tired of the loop, tired of the starts and stops, tired of making promises in the morning and breaking them by night, tired of becoming an expert at convincing himself next week. And then, one day, something shifts, not because a new opportunity appears, not because the pain disappears, but because something inside him whispers, I'm done living at 40%. This is the moment when the 90-day decision is born. It's not a challenge. It's not a social media detox. It's a declaration of war against the man you no longer want to be. Napoleon Hill called it definiteness of purpose, not a passing intention, but a firm decision, backed by faith and protected by discipline. All achievement begins with definiteness of purpose, with a burning desire to translate that purpose into reality. So let's get one thing clear. You don't drift your way into transformation. You decide. Then you commit. Then you eliminate the exit, because the man who keeps one foot in and one foot out never goes anywhere. If you want to become someone you've never been, you have to burn the bridge to the man you used to be. No more backup plans. No more see how I feel. No more living with the door half open in case it gets uncomfortable. You shut the door, you lock it, and you throw away the key. Because from this moment forward, there is no back. Only forward. Only fire. Only focus. But let me be honest with you, this path won't feel good at first. Your body will resist, your habits will scream. Your mind will try to negotiate. Just today, take it easy. Just this once. You deserve a break. Let's start clean next week. And that is the moment that defines you, because every time you say yes to your old patterns, you send a signal to your subconscious that you're not serious. But every time you say no, every time you show up anyway, you begin to rewire your identity. Not someday. No. Not when motivation is high. No. Not when the weather is right. Or your schedule is perfect. No. For the next 90 days, we are not building hype. We are building evidence, proof that you are not who you used to be, that you are not the excuses you've recycled, that you are not the failures you feared. You are the man who made a decision and then proved it in silence, because that's how change becomes permanent. Not through emotion, but through aligned, repeated, relentless execution. This is the foundation, the contract, the fork in the road. From this moment on, you don't dabble. You decide. You go dark. You build, and 90 days from now, you won't need to tell anyone you've changed. They'll feel it in your voice. They'll see it in your posture. They'll recognize it in your energy. Because the man who makes a real decision becomes undeniable. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You rise to the level of your standards, and your standards are built one daily act at a time. This is where theory ends and structure begins, where we stop asking, how do I become better, and start building the system that transforms you from the inside out for the next 90 days. Your life will be constructed on 5 pillars. Each one is simple, brutal, non-negotiable. Together, they don't just create results. They reconstruct your identity. These aren't tasks you check off. They are signals sent daily to your subconscious mind, saying, this is who I am now. Let's break them down. Pillar 1, the mind. Feeding the fire within Napoleon Hill taught us that thoughts are things that the mind is not a container to be filled, but a garden to be cultivated. And if you don't plant with intention, the weeds will take over. That's why every day, without fail, you will dedicate 1 full hour to your mind. Not passive scrolling, not background podcasts. This is deliberate input reading, writing, reflection, clarity, high-quality ideas, high-level thinking, books that stretch you, journals that expose you, questions that refine you. Because your thoughts shape your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your identity. And your identity shapes your results. This is how we install a new operating system, quietly, relentlessly, daily. Pillar 2, the body. The temple that carries the standard hill said, self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts, but it continues with the mastery of your physical impulses. And your body, your energy, your posture, your stamina is not separate from your mindset. It is the foundation for the next 90 days. You train every single day, minimum 30 minutes. No excuses, no negotiation. This isn't about abs. It's about agency, the feeling that you're in control when your body becomes a vessel of strength. Your willpower expands. You stop folding when things feel hard. Because your system is built for effort, you move even when it's inconvenient. You sweat, especially when it's uncomfortable. You push not for vanity, but for victory. Pillar 3, the mission. 90 minutes of deep work. Every day. This is where most men fail. They say they want purpose, but give their dream 12 minutes a week. You won't be one of them every single day. You dedicate 90 minutes of uninterrupted, focused work to your mission. The thing that matters most, no phones, no tabs, no distractions. You either build the dream or you scroll through someone else's, whether it's writing, designing, selling, training, studying, you move it forward. And if you don't know your mission yet, finding it becomes your mission. 90 minutes per day equals over 100 hours in 3 months. That's enough to build something real, not just in effort, but in identity. Because soon, you won't just be someone working on something, you'll be someone who builds. Pillar for stillness. Where power finds you, most people fear silence. Because in the silence, they hear everything they've been running from. But the man who masters stillness masters clarity, focus, and emotional control. Every day, 10, 20 minutes. No input, no talking, no screens, just you, your breath, your presence. This isn't wasted time. It's where the mind resets, where anxiety dissolves, where the future becomes visible. Quiet the noise. Hill might say, so you can hear the whisper of your own purpose. You're not trying to escape the world. You're learning how to stand still in the center of it and not be moved. That's where wisdom lives. Pillar 5, no negotiation, where talk ends and identity begins. This is the code. The part where discipline becomes DNA. No negotiation means you said you'd do it, so you do it. Not if you feel like it. Not when it's convenient. But because it's who you are now. You don't justify skipping. You don't explain away delay. You honor the commitment, especially when no one's watching. Because most people don't fail from weakness. They fail from inconsistency, from breaking promises to themselves and calling it balance. But when your word becomes law, when your internal contract means something, your confidence becomes unshakable. This pillar is where softness dies, where excuses suffocate, where the man inside you steps forward and says, enough, this is my standard now. Daily execution equals identity installation. You're not just completing tasks, you're programming your subconscious. You're creating a version of yourself so locked in, so consistent, that excellence becomes default. And once you live at that level, everything changes. Your walk, your presence, your peace. You don't just act different, you are different. That's the power of aligned, non-negotiable daily rituals. That's what these 5 pillars are for. Not to make you feel good, but to make you undeniable. No one tells you this at the beginning. The hardest part of transformation isn't starting. It's surviving the silence that comes after. When the motivation fades, when the habits feel hollow, when your mind starts whispering, this is pointless, it's not working, maybe you should quit. Welcome to the inner war. This is where most men fall. Not because they're weak, but because they were unprepared for what always comes next: resistance, boredom, doubt. Let's break it down. Wall 1, the resistance day, 7:10. At first, you're on fire. You're training. You're journaling. You're focused. But then comes day 7. The honeymoon ends. You're tired. Your body aches. The old habits knock at the door softly, politely, seductively. Just skip this one. You've done enough. Start fresh tomorrow. That voice, that's your past identity fighting for survival. It doesn't care that you're building a future. It only knows comfort. And it will do anything to bring you back to what's familiar. This is where you build mental armor. Not by screaming, not by complaining, but by showing up in silence and doing the work anyway. because every rep you push through, every deep work session you finish, is not just progress, it's proof. Wall 2. The boredom day, 30-40. This one is sneaky. You're no longer fighting pain, you're fighting repetition. The system works, but it feels dull. No applause, no breakthroughs, just the same routine, again and again. You begin to wonder, is this really changing me? Is this even worth it? And this is where the average man resets. He chases newness over mastery. He swaps discipline for distraction, but not you. You're not here for hype. You're here to build identity, and identity isn't built on excitement. It's built on rhythm. It's built when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when all you have is your system and your decision to follow through. Wall 3, the fire of rebirth day, 60-75. And then something shifts. It's subtle at first. You stop asking, should I, and start acting like, of course I do. The resistance fades. The routine flows. You wake up sharper. You walk with clarity. You speak less, but with power. You're not the same man. And for the first time, you feel it. This is the point where most men celebrate, but you don't. You honor it. Quietly, gratefully, because you know this fire was earned, not in the beginning, but in the boredom, in the doubt, in the silence you refuse to quit in. Napoleon Hill wrote, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And now you see it. The adversity was never the enemy. The fire was never trying to burn you. It was trying to forge you. So what do you do next? You keep going? Because now you're not just following a plan. You're living a standard, and the man who lives by standards doesn't need motivation anymore. He moves because it's who he is. This is the inner war. Not fought in noise, but in stillness. Not won in bursts, but in repetition. And when you walk through it, not around it, not over it, but straight through it, you don't just win, you become. Most people don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they are inconsistent. They start strong. They write goals. They feel inspired for a week, then life happens. And when life hits, they fall back into old habits because they built their system on emotion, not on identity. At the core of all transformation is this truth. Motivation is momentary. Discipline is permanent. Motivation depends on how you feel. Discipline depends on what you've decided. When Napoleon Hill wrote about definiteness of purpose, he wasn't talking about a feeling. He was talking about a vow, a decision backed by action, even when every part of you wants to quit. The problem with motivation. Motivation is like a visitor. It knocks on your door when conditions are favorable. When the sun is out, when your energy is high, when people are applauding, when the results are visible. But what happens when it's raining, when you're tired, when no one's clapping? And the scale hasn't moved, and the mirror hasn't changed. That's when motivation ghosts you. It disappears. And if that's the only engine you've been using, you stall. But discipline is different. Discipline doesn't knock, it doesn't wait, it moves, it shows up at 5 MC. When the bed is warm, it laces your shoes when your legs are sore. It turns off the phone when your brain craves stimulation. And most importantly, discipline doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't check with your mood. It obeys your purpose, rewiring your identity. Every time you follow through on a task you don't feel like doing, you send a message to your subconscious. I am someone who honors his word. I am someone who shows up no matter what. I don't break promises to myself. And that repetition, that auto-suggestion, as Hill would call it, begins to forge something deeper than results. It forges self-respect. That's the birthplace of true confidence. Not hype, not compliments, not viral success, but integrity. The quiet knowing that you do what others talk about. Discipline creates rhythm. You don't just want results. You want momentum. And momentum is not created in big wins. It's created in small, boring, repeated choices made in private when no one else would care if you skipped. It starts with a checklist, then becomes a routine, then becomes second nature, then becomes who you are. This is why men who commit to 90 days don't come out the same, because they've practiced moving without emotional permission. They've trained their nervous system to associate discomfort with growth, not danger. When discipline becomes peace, here's the part that no one tells you. Discipline doesn't stay painful. It becomes peaceful when you no longer wonder what to do, when you stop negotiating, when you simply move because it's time, not because you feel like it. Suddenly, your energy is conserved. Your decisions are clear. Your rhythm becomes sacred. You wake up knowing, this is what I do. This is who I am. The cost of inconsistency every time you skip a task. You teach your brain, my word doesn't matter. My goals are optional. My future can wait. That cracks your confidence. And over time, your belief in yourself erodes quietly. But when you don't skip, when you train, when tired, when you focus, when distracted, when you build, when no one is watching, you become the man who doesn't need to explain himself. Your work does the talking. Your presence does the leading. Your discipline becomes undeniable. No more negotiation. You made the decision. Now live inside it. Not for a day, not for a week, for 90 days. No negotiation, no mental bargaining, no soft talk. Because the version of you who finishes, he doesn't ask, do I feel like it today? He asks, what did I promise myself? And then he moves. This is not just about reaching a goal. It's about becoming a man who is capable of any goal, because the man who finishes doesn't just complete tasks, he conquers himself. And once you've done that, no resistance, no hardship, no opinion can stop you, because you've done the hardest thing a man can do. You've built discipline into your bones. Something begins to shift around. Day 60. But it's not loud. It's not a celebration. There's no applause, no confetti. No, you made it moment. It's subtle. It's internal. It's sacred. You wake up and something's different. Your rituals feel natural. Your rhythm feels automatic. Your focus sharpens before your feet touch the floor. You're no longer pushing. Something is pulling you forward. This is the 90-day awakening. It's the point in your journey where effort becomes essence, where what once felt heavy now feels inevitable, where identity has caught up with discipline and you're no longer trying, you simply are. You are the man who trains. You are the man who writes. You are the man who honors silence, protects focus, and builds in the dark, not for praise, not for hype, but because it's who you've become. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve Napoleon Hill. And now you believe it, not because you repeated affirmations, but because you built enough evidence in your calendar, evidence in your reflection, evidence in the way you walk, think, speak, and move. You no longer look for validation. Your presence carries weight because you've done something most never do. You've crossed the invisible threshold where discipline becomes identity. The world starts to notice, but you don't need them to you. Carry yourself differently now. Not lude, but quieter. Not heavier, but deeper. Your friends notice. Your coworkers sense it. Even strangers feel it in your energy. But you're not concerned with their reaction, because validation from others pales in comparison to the confidence of a man who respects himself. You've seen what you're capable of, and now you trust your own fire. You are no longer motivated, you are grounded. There's a calm that sets in, a stillness beneath your effort, a certainty behind your movement. You no longer need to be inspired. You no longer chase a mood, because the work, the rituals, the systems, the 5 pillars have become home. This is how you now live. Not as a phase, not as a sprint, but as a standard. And the beauty of it, it wasn't built in public. It wasn't broadcast to the world. It wasn't manic or dramatic. It was quiet. It was repetitive. It was private. You simply showed up over and over and over again until the old you no longer existed. And the new you no longer needs to be announced, because when essence replaces effort, results speak louder than declarations ever could. And now, the question changes. At the start of this journey, your question sounded like, what should I do? How do I stay consistent? What if I fail? But now, you ask different questions. What else am I capable of? What more can I build? How far can I go if I never stop? Because when you've proven to cause yourself that you can change your identity in 90 days, you stop asking if you're the kind of man who follows through. You already know the answer. You don't go back. That's the greatest gift of this journey. Once you've lived with alignment, once you've tasted discipline, not as punishment, but as freedom, once you've burned the excuses and built something real, you can never go back to someday. You can never again believe the lie that comfort is safer than purpose, because now you've seen it. The man you were meant to become was waiting on the other side of discomfort, and you crossed the fire to meet him. So no, you didn't finish the 90 days. You awakened through them. You forged a new self through silence, pain, and repetition. And now, you don't chase greatness. You carry it. You made a decision, not a wish, not a mood, but a definiteness of purpose. And for 90 days, you honored it through the doubt, through the resistance, through the silence. You didn't quit. You didn't explain. You built. And now you don't just have a new result. You have a new identity. Remember this, you weren't reborn because you were motivated. You were reborn because you stayed. You stayed when it was boring. You stayed when it was quiet. You stayed when no one clapped. That's what separates men who change their habits from men who change their lives. And here's the truth. You don't need anyone's permission to keep going. You don't need applause to be powerful, because now your discipline speaks louder than any words ever could. You've built the structure. You've silenced the noise. You've become the man who finishes. And that version of you, he doesn't need to be seen because he's already undeniable. So now I ask you, what will the next 90 days look like? Will you drift back into average, or will you lock in again deeper, sharper, quieter? That choice is yours. But if you're ready not just to watch transformation, but to live it, then commit. Go dark and come back different. If this message spoke to you, like it, share it, live it. And if you're ready for the next step in your journey, subscribe to Think Rich Mindset Hub now. We're not here to motivate you. We're here to build men of purpose, principle, and power